Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Hey, folks, today is Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I'm here in Nashville, literally at the airport. The NFL alumni, they have their celebrity golf tournament taking place tomorrow, benefiting their kids' charities. We'll be hearing from some of the people who'll be attending this pairings party right here. The tournament takes place on tomorrow. Lots to talk about, including Ohio Congresswoman Shontel Brown checking Kentucky Congressman Jim Comer when he made a comment regarding you people. What the hell was he talking about, you people, when it came to welfare? I think y'all can guess that one right there. 3 Georgia midwives have filed a lawsuit against the state challenging what they say is a restrictive law. We'll hear from them regarding their suit as well. The twice-impeached criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald the Con Trump says he doesn't mind inflation. Oh, really? But I thought that's why you were always trashing Joe Biden. Wait till we play for you what he actually had to say today. Also, folks, faith leaders also saying they want to protect the Johnson Amendment that protects 501c3s. We're going to tell you about that as well. Plus, 2 young brothers from Missouri trying to sell lemonade. Someone calls 911. Cops do a great deed, but I want to talk about the person who called 911. Lots for us to break down. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah.
Hey, folks, I'm coming to you live from Nashville, where the NFL alumni, they'll be holding their golf tournament tomorrow. They're going to be having their party tonight, raising funds for their children's charity. I want to thank former Tennessee Titan Al Smith for inviting me, and so look forward to talking with him and some others about the work that they do here, bringing together all of these former players for the great work that they do when it comes to children. So we're here at the Nashville airport, at the Hilton airport here at the hotel. So if y'all hear, planes flying over now, you understand exactly where we are. So we'll get to that a little bit later, where this starts in about an hour. First off, let's talk about politics of the day. There was something called the Johnson Amendment, and what that was an important provision put in place by then Senate Majority Leader Lyndon Baines Johnson, and he, of course, it dealt with the issue of tax-exempt status as well from nonprofits. It said that they could not officially endorse political candidates. Now, Donald Trump, at the behest of all of these right-wing conservative preachers, they want that to be lifted so they can endorse from the pulpit. Now, here's the deal. It doesn't mean that a preacher cannot personally endorse. What they can't do is engage in partisan politics from the pulpit. But these right-wing pastors, it is exactly what they want to do. Congressman Glenn Ivey of Maryland joins us right now. Shortly, we'll be hearing from former Congressman G.K. Butterfield as well. I'll start with you, Congressman Ivey. This is real simple. These right-wing pastors, they have been flouting this law. They've been flouting this. They don't like it. They want to be able to engage in naked partisanship from the pulpit. They want to be able to stand in their pulpits and denigrate, as a lot of them have already done this, literally threatening the IRS to come after them. And so this is all about white, right-wing, conservative evangelicals and Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this has gotten started back with Jerry Falwell and the Moral Majority back in the 80s. And they built this into the evangelical political movement that's now a big wing of the Trump MAGA wing of the Republican Party. But you're right. They're trying to do explicit endorsements. They want to really continue to ramp up partisan engagement in the pulpit. And at the same time, try and push back against African-American communities. We haven't been explicit like they have, but we've had Souls to the Polls and the like. And so this conference we want to put on Monday, and this is Congressman Clyburn, sort of the leader on all of this, is to help churches, pastors to understand where that line is, what they can and cannot do to avoid, to be involved and make a difference politically in their communities, but not cross the line and put their 501c3 status at risk, because we know the Trump administration
But I'm trying to understand this. Congressman Ivey. So the IRS lifted that exemption. So the IRS said that churches can endorse from the pulpit. And I've heard many others say, okay, great. Guess what? Black pastors should be taking advantage of this as well. And so is that what's going on here? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, and Congressman Butterfield's the expert on this, but that's certainly what the predominantly white evangelical churches have been doing. I think it's important for us to continue to be careful, frankly, and I'd like to make sure that the Johnson Amendment is strengthened and clarified so that we know exactly where that line is, because the Trump administration, as we know, is not above using the IRS and the Department of Justice to go after their perceived adversaries. They're doing that with Letitia James and others. So we want to make sure we stay out of those crosshairs. But at the same time, we want to make sure, just as like we've done in the past, that the faith community's always been the backbone, not just of the civil rights movement, but for African-American politics and, frankly, Democratic Party politics as well. We need to make sure we don't cross any lines or put ourselves at risk, but still get the job done come November.
So are you suggesting that you believe that that the Trump folks would penalize black churches for doing exactly what these conservative right-wing pastors would be doing?
Oh yeah, I don't think absolutely. I don't think we should assume there's going to be equal treatment, or they're going to treat us with the same yardstick that they treat white evangelical pastors, because we know that they're doing any and everything they can to try and tilt this election in their favor. just like when he seized ballots in Fulton County, used the FBI to do that a couple of weeks ago. We're fully expecting them to try other tactics. He's tried to nationalize the elections. In fact, he stated he was going to do that from the White House with an executive order. And I don't think they're above getting ICE and potentially even the National Guard out in some of these polling places too. So I think we need to be ready for any and all of those kinds of things. I think the Democratic Party, certainly the House DCCC and others, and many of the advocacy groups are preparing for those kinds of things, ACLU and the like. We want to make sure we have lawyers on the ground, and also we have full volunteers out there being, poll watchers and the like, to make sure that we're ready for anything that could happen, and also to reassure voters that it's going to be safe and fine for them to come out to vote. And the other piece of this that's, I think, critically important is making sure that people have a voting plan and that they vote early. And even beyond that, go check to make sure you haven't been purged from the polls from your local election board. Right. Because there's a lot of purges that have taken place around the country, too. So this needs to be a full-scale and across-the-board effort. The Johnson Amendment's an important piece of that. But we've got to make sure we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's come Election Day, because this is a big one.
Former Congressman of North Carolina, G.K. Butterfield, joins us right now. Congressman, we're talking about, obviously, this issue. So this conference that's taking place, where is it taking place? Who is invited? And what do you hope the message will be leaving there?
Well, first of all, let me say good evening to you, Roland, and to Congressman Ivey. Thank you for lifting up this conversation this evening. This is very, very important stuff that we're talking about. Our pastors and others in the faith community have really, really misunderstood what the IRS requires of churches. Back in 1954, the United States Congress passed a very simple law that said that churches and nonprofits are prohibited from directly participating in political campaigns. What that means is that pastors and churches cannot endorse candidates. It does not prohibit a church or a religious organization or even a nonprofit from voter education and get out the vote efforts and voter registration drives and voter souls to the polls and all the other programs that we have. The Johnson Amendment only prohibits churches from endorsing candidates. And so I want to send a message out to the faith community that we've got to understand that churches and nonprofit organizations, the Divine Nine for sure, can be involved in political campaigns. They just cannot endorse a candidate. They cannot oppose a specific candidate, but they can certainly get involved.
Okay, so explain then the restriction the IRS lifted earlier.
Well, there was a lawsuit in Texas against the IRS saying that the Johnson Amendment is unconstitutional. That case is still wrapped up in the courts. The trial judge refused to go along with it, and so now it's on appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. But in the meantime, the Internal Revenue has said that they are not going to enforce the Johnson Amendment, which basically means that churches can really have free reign to do whatever they need to do in order to get out the vote in this election. The Trump administration is opposed to the Johnson Amendment. The IRS is opposed to it. And so I don't suspect that there will be any enforcement against any churches who get involved in getting out to vote in this election. Churches must be involved. We must have a 100% turnout.
But as Congressman Ivey said earlier, the issue that we have is this here. We know how vindictive the Trump administration is. So the question then becomes, if they say they're not going to enforce it, well, then what happens if a black church endorses from the pulpit and then they say, oh, we're coming after your 501c3 status?
Well, Roland, we don't need our churches endorsing candidates. That's not what we need. We need our churches involved in getting out the vote. Our voters are going to do the right thing. We don't need to endorse candidates. We need to mobilize and energize and make sure that we have a 100% turnout.
But Congressman, I understand that point, but here's my whole point. But if they are going to be endorsing candidates from the pulpit, then why shouldn't black pastors?
Well, if a black pastor were to endorse a candidate from the pulpit, I venture to say there would be no repercussions at all. But what I'm encouraging our pastors to do is don't endorse a candidate from the pulpit. Just get up there and talk about the importance of voting and what is at stake if we don't vote in this election. How Trump is going to continue to be able to run havoc over our communities, eliminate diversity and equity and all of the other programs that we have, cutting back on HBCUs and Medicaid and food stamps. We don't need to be particularly endorsing candidates. We need to preach from the pulpit the importance of voting.
Well, I'll say this here, Congressman Ivey. I think it has to be even more explicit and more specific. And what I have been saying is I don't want preachers saying just vote. What I want them to do is, somewhat what Congressman Butterfield just said there, what I want them to do is say, these are the things that they have done that have been anti-black, and list those things. Because I think part of the issue that we are seeing is that the reality is it's not resonating among, especially 1844, hey, we need you to vote. No. We need to be saying, this is what they've actually done. They've cut this. Those preachers need to have the data on how the cuts have impacted their state, their city, their communities, their neighborhoods. That what should be happening here. And what I've heard from black preachers is that their fear is that even though the Trump folks say they're not going to enforce the Johnson Amendment, their fear is that they might get targeted, and now they're having to deal with legal fees and all sort of other drama. And that's why some say, hey, I don't want any part of endorsing.
Let me put it this way, Roland. Our pastors can talk about anything that relates to a campaign and an election. The only thing I'm cautioning against is endorsing a specific candidate. We can talk about their track record. We can talk about their voting record, what they're for, what they're against. I just don't want our pastors endorsing a particular candidate.
Well, and the point there, Congressman Ivey, the fear is, again, if you do, they might come after you, even though they say they're not going to enforce it.
You're both right. We just looked at a poll this morning that talked about the African-American voters, especially young men under 40. And what the issue is for them, they're not particularly attached to specific individuals, but to the point you made earlier, they're getting what's going on, in their lives. They're seeing the impact, prices of groceries, the cost for gasoline, the challenge is getting jobs, keeping a roof over your head, all of those things. The key thing we need to be doing is connecting those problems that they're having with what the Trump administration has done to cause those problems. And then we also need to be able to say, these are the types of things that we can do to fix them. And we need to talk about those in short-term and long-term steps so that they have a sense of exactly how we can help to fix their problems and improve their lives, because they just want to make sure. They've heard politicians on both sides. Many of them are pretty cynical about what's going on at that level. They want results. And I think that's what we have to discuss in the church.
All right. So where's this event taking place next week? Location, time, and is it going to be live stream for people who cannot attend it to still be able to watch?
Yeah, absolutely. It's virtual, and you can go to ivy.house.gov, and you can tap into this. And it's going to be Monday, June 15 at 7 o'clock. So we'd love to have as many folks involved, pastors in particular. Al Sharpton's going to be a special guest at this event, as well as Congressman Clyburn. So it should be a good and informative time, and we're looking forward to getting some feedback, too, from pastors who participate in the call. We're not just going to talk at them. We want to have a dialogue and hear what they're seeing at the ground level and get a sense of what we can do to help them, help to turn out the vote and mobilize their congregations.
All right, Congressman Glenn Ivey, former Congressman G.K. Butterfield. I surely appreciate both of y'all being on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, then, folks, let's bring in my panel. Rebecca Carruthers, President and CEO of Fair Election Center, joining us from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Glad to have her with us. Robert Patillo, civil rights attorney, the Patillo Law Firm out of Atlanta. Nicole Robinson, political law attorney and strategist out of D.C. Glad to have all three of y'all here. Listen, it is a slippery slope, Rebecca, dealing with this administration. These people are liars. They're cheats. They're corrupt. And the reality is, I see, and Donald Trump has made it clear, he will go after his enemies in a heartbeat. And so I think that's one of the reasons why you hear former Congressman Butterfield say, hey, don't endorse, because they may target you, but let that white right-wing pastor off the hook.
Roland, regardless, Black churches and all Black institutions are under attack by this administration, full stop. Regardless if you comply with the law, regardless if you comply with the court ruling that suggests that the IRS will no longer enforce that particular amendment, Black institutions are under attack. So whether or not pastors are openly endorsing from the pulpit, they will be under attack by this administration. That's the reality. And to me, the practicality of understanding that reality is Black communities, Black institutions need to start fundraising for legal funds, understanding that at some point we all will be under attack by this administration. And so I understand why the congressman and the former congressman were both trying to be cautious and not providing a directive for pastors to openly endorse from the pulpit. The reality is Black churches will be under attack.
Well, I do believe, Robert, that there should be a challenge. I believe those Black preachers should be deciding, hey, you know what? Let's have several of us actually do it. And let's see if they try to come after us, and then go to court and say, now, wait a minute. You didn't say a word to the white preachers, but you're attacking Black preachers. That should be a part of this strategy.
Roland, that should be the entirety of the strategy. We have to realize, after about 400 years in this country, you're not going to out-nice people when it comes to dealing with the political fight. These corporations are investing hundreds of billions of dollars into lobbying. People devote their entire lives and careers to elections. Millions, billions, and trillions of dollars are come down to how these votes turn out. And we're not just going to say, well, if we don't say anything, hopefully they won't notice us. No, we have to attack the constitutional validity of this. We need every Black pastor in the country, not just to typically endorse, to full-throatedly endorse and also denounce people such as President Trump because they have an ungodly administration, and then dare them to come after every Black church in America at the same time. We don't need to be hiding at this moment. We don't need to be bowing our heads and simply saying, well, maybe we can get by. This is the moment where we have to realize these folks stormed the Capitol already. You can't buy ammo in this country because they're hiding it in pallets. These folks are ready for action. They're ready to move. They see this as their singular opportunity to undo the last 150 years of American history and to put us right back to where we were in the pre-Reconstruction South. And so the idea that we're simply going to try and convince them and cajole them and say, well, people will do the right thing. No, you don't see these lobbyist groups saying people are just going to do the right thing, hopefully. You don't think Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are just hoping people do the right things. You don't think these these pastors who depend on these tax breaks and the investments of all these right-wing organizations are hoping people are going to do the right things. You have to fight fire with the exact same fire they're bringing you. And I think the minute this goes into effect, every single preacher should also become a lobbyist. They should start lobbying from the pulpit that day and send the videos directly to the Department of Justice and dare them and take this to the Supreme Court and have a decision one way or the other so it applies to everyone evenly, but we're not going to hide our way out of this.
Nicole.
That's exactly right. And the Black church has been the backbone of the civil rights movement, of Black movements for liberation since the Black church was in existence. So we can't be afraid. We can't hide, like Robert just said. We have to come out just like how the white churches are going to come out too. Because what we're going to see is wealthy donors, billionaires and millionaires and Trump supporters throwing their money at white pastors, at white political leaders so that they can get those endorsements and build more political power. And we have to do the exact same thing. The Black church is a powerful structure in the Black community. And right now, people are looking for leaders. They're looking for somewhere to go. They're looking for advice about who they should vote for and who they should not vote for. So the Black church needs to actually take advantage of this and not hide in the shadows and be afraid of what the Trump administration might do, because we don't even know what's going to happen yet. So we need to come out fighting and swinging back, just like they're doing.
Well, we have made perfectly clear that there is a GOP war on Black America. We made perfectly clear that this is happening all across the board, and absolutely we must be in a fighting posture. Got to take a break. We come back. We're going to talk about a story out of Georgia where midwives are fighting against Republicans changing the law there. NAACP is fighting the Tennessee congressional districts, got that lawsuit as well. You've got others who are now trying to help the Carmelo Anthony family fight 35-year jail sentence that he received yesterday in Texas. A lot for us to unpack right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
What's happening? This is your man, Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching the Black Star Network.
Folks, 35 years in prison. That's what a Texas jury sentenced Carmelo Anthony to for the murder of another teen, Austin Metcalf. Carmelo Anthony, 17 years old, was convicted yesterday, and then they had the sentencing phase as well. And his defense only called one particular witness. This is, people are now speaking out on this. We've been covering this trial from day one. The trial only lasted 7 days. Actually, I don't know, it actually was even shorter than that. And so again, he was convicted. He's going to have served at least half of those years before he's eligible for parole. Now, jurors could have sentenced him to as little as 2 years in prison or up to the rest of his life. Prosecutors said they really wanted a long jail sentence. Texas law allowed Anthony to be charged as an adult, even though he was 17 years old at the time of the incident that took place at a track meet in April of 2025 when he stabbed 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. Reports indicate that Carmelo is being kept in a secure area of the Collin County Jail away from the general inmate population. That's before he is transferred to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. So I want to go to Robert first here. Robert, a lot of people obviously are sick and saddened. They were standing with him, saying that he was defending himself. That was the self-defense theory they took to the case. Can you explain, just from your perspective, what the hell his defense attorney was doing? Listen, Carmelo Anthony is on trial, and they have self-defense. He doesn't put Carmelo Anthony on the stand. They have very few people testify on Carmelo Anthony's behalf. Okay, he gets convicted. What I don't understand is, how in the hell do you only call one person for sentencing? I mean, I'm sitting there going, so you call his mother. It's important. But my God, I'm sitting there saying, no, you flood football, his fellow players, coaches, pastors, church members. I mean, you call 20, 30 people. I'm like, what the hell was this lawyer doing?
Well, look, one, I very rarely criticize what other people do in court just because there are a lot of externalities that take place, and it's easy to be the Monday morning quarterback in most cases. But one, let's start with a couple things. One, the procedural posture where the case is now. I want people to understand that this is a conviction at trial. It's not the end of the case. There more than likely has already been filed a motion for new trial in the case, pointing out any procedural errors that were allowed in by the judge, any evidence that was put in, other issues that can trigger a new trial. Also, more than likely, this will be appealed to a higher tribunal and more than likely appealed thereafter. These cases often take many years to adjudicate.
Robert, this is Texas, bruh. This is Texas, bruh. I'm just being straight up. I ain't got, there's zero hope for appeal.
Roland, you will be surprised. I worked with Barry Scheck, who founded the Innocence Project on the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers Executive Board for many years. They've won harder cases in harder jurisdictions. That when we dive into the trial transcript, when you get into the motions, you can usually find something that can get you at least before an appeals court judge, and then you have every opportunity. Now, on the question of why didn't they call more witnesses? You call witnesses when they have something germane to say that will help your defense. If you don't have somebody who's going to say something that's going to help your defense, you do not put them on the stand. Only bad things happen. Why don't you call the defendant on the stand? Because everything you put in front of him, he'll also be subject to cross-examination, and often they can hurt the case more than they actually help it by putting them on the stand, because often, even if you're innocent, people aren't used to testifying at trial. People have contradictions. They slip up in words. The prosecutors on the other side are purposely, they've been going over these files for months just to know how to do exactly that. On the question of the sentencing.
I got that. On the sentencing, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the sentencing, you also have to ask yourself this question. We are all looking at this from news and television, seeing the family, etc. How do we know how many people had good things to say? How many people we know for a fact would have gotten on the stand and said these wonderful things that would have helped him out, or would that have actually just added more confusion? The point is, we don't actually know everything that the lawyer had.
Robert, if we got a young black kid who was captain of the football team, 3.7 grade point average, I think you can find more than one person than his mama to talk about him in the sentencing phase. I mean, let's be clear. The jury literally got this case. They deliberated for less than 3 hours, convicted him. Then they went back in and sentenced him all in the same day. I'm just saying, that's all you put up is one person? His mama?
This is why we have to do postmortems. We look at these things. You can file a appeal for ineffective assistance of counsel and bring all these questions in and demand a new trial on the basis that if there was ineffective assistance of counsel going into this. But I put someone's grandmama on the stand one time during the sentencing hearing in Columbus, Georgia, on an armed robbery case, expecting the grandmama to say all these wonderful things. The grandmama, and this is a quote, she'd say, his ass always been bad. They should put him under the jail. That is what his grandmama said. So I'm saying we don't know everything that went into it. So let's hold the fire until we get more details and start concentrating on what proactively can be done with regards to a new trial and an appeal to actually bring justice into the case. You never know what's going on. It's like when you open up the hood of a car, you think it's straightforward, and now the whole thing's on fire. So instead of figuring out all of the things that went wrong, let's figure out what we can do right going forward to bring justice.
Nicole, this is the real deal. This is how I look at it. Your client was convicted of murder, not the lesser charge. The prosecutors made it clear they wanted him for a whole number of years. That tells me house is already on fire. I got to do everything I can, and I'm sorry. If I'm in the sentencing phase, I'm not just going to call one person, his mother, to testify about his character. I need to make something out of this. Hell, make this thing a 1-day, 2-day thing. It was literally prosecutor, nope. Defense, one person. All right, boom, jury, there we go. All right, we can go ahead and sentence him to prison. We can be home for dinner.
Yeah, and there's so many troubling things about this case. It almost felt like it was over before it started. The fact that he didn't have anybody on the jury that looked like him, when in America you're supposed to have a jury of your peers. And then we get to this part of the case where there's not really a strong defense mounted for him. It looked like the odds were stacked against him from the moment that he picked his attorney. Now, I will say that, to Robert's point earlier, sometimes you don't know what witnesses are going to stay on the stand. But he has such a strong academic background, such a strong athletic background, that hopefully somebody at the school, somebody in his family had one positive thing to say about him that could withstand cross-examination. Now, in the event that there is a new trial, maybe he picks another attorney, maybe they go in with a new strategy and try to find more people that can say positive things about him. But I mean, at this point, he had nothing to lose because everything was already stacked against him. So his attorney probably could have taken a little bit more of a risk and called some more people to the stand to testify on his behalf.
Look, Rebecca, a lot of people have been commenting. A lot of people have been saying, oh, my God, I can't believe this happened. Listen, we were covering this from day one. I never thought for a second that this was not going to happen. We're talking in Collin County, not Dallas County. You had, Thelma Anderson talked about what she called these racist comments from the prosecutor in terms of, listen, this is a conservative. This is the county that let Ken Paxton off. Okay, this is a conservative county, mostly white, and so the writing was on the wall. Again, I was very shocked with the attorney they went with. I just never got the sense that, and again, watching this and looking who they call, that he put on an aggressive defense, and I'm just totally perplexed with what the hell the sentencing strategy was.
Roland, in today's America and in yesterday's America, quite frankly, Black boys don't get to be Black boys. Black people in this country don't get to defend themselves. Even if the law says that if you are attacked, if there is an aggressor towards you, you have the right to defend yourself, including up to bodily harm against someone else if that's what they're doing towards you. In this country, what we're seeing, not just from this administration, this is even beyond the orange occupant in the White House. This is about how this country is set up. This country is rotten in terms of its systems. When we talk about there is systemic racism in this country, this is what we mean. Like, Roland, I am convinced that you could have had 10 character witnesses for this young person, and he still would have been convicted. They still would have found him guilty. They still would have tried to figure out what's the maximum number of time. I think they were looking at up to 99 years in terms of his sentencing. So while, yes, I hear what you're saying, and yes, I believe that there should have been a more robust defense going through not just the trial itself, but through the sentencing phase as well, I also understand that we're fighting against a system here. And I think that's something important to remember. Like, I saw on social media, some people were saying, well, this is the reason why Black people need to volunteer and show up to be active on juries. But I also saw Black people in the comments saying, oh, well, he should have walked away. We know in this country, if you walk away, you could be killed. We know in this country, if you stand your ground and you ultimately save your own life, that you will be charged, that you will be sentenced, for 35 years in this country. Right now, we see that it's a no-win situation for Black people in this country, which is the reason why we have to do something about these system issues.
Look, I agree with all of that. And even if it's fait accompli, damn it, I'm going to call more than one person in sentencing, where I want to try to get that thing as low as I possibly can. And I'm sorry, one person, his mother, simply wasn't enough. Do y'all have a video? This is Mike Howard. Mike Howard was Carmelo Anthony's attorney. And there was a video where he was interviewed on social media where he talked about not being aggressive, a certain way how you should operate and act in a courtroom, sort of the approach that he take. Granted, the judge had a gag order going here as well, which prevented him from, of course, talking to the media and stuff along those lines. But still, I just simply did not quite understand the very limited situation here. And yes, you're absolutely right. Carmelo Anthony, certain things can happen well, guys, play the video then. Certain things can happen if he testifies, but he was being tried for murder. And guess what? when your client's life is on the line and he's 17 years old, that means that right now he gets 35 years. He's got to serve 17 of those before he's eligible for parole. That means that Carmelo Anthony is going to spend the next he's going to spend as long as in prison as he's lived on this earth. And so to me, you do everything you can. And I just don't think Mike Howard did enough, especially in the sentencing phase, to protect his client. Quick break. We come back. We're going to talk about the Georgia case where these midwives are suing the state over a new law. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You'll see it right here. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. Check some money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're in Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
I'm Sherry Shepard with Sammy Roman. I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Black maternal health is a huge issue, and of course, many folks are concerned about that. In Georgia, they tried to pass a law to license midwives. It failed, but our next guest actually filed suit anyway. Let's talk to Jamari Amani, the lead plaintiff in the case, and her attorney, Hillary Schneller. Both join us right now. Glad to have both of you here. So the law in Georgia, it failed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but you're suing. What's the purpose of the lawsuit if the law failed? Who are you suing and why?
So the lawsuit was filed because we have been fighting for years to get the law passed that would license midwives. And because we haven't been able to secure the licensure of midwives for many decades now, Georgia has been restricting midwives from being able to practice in our communities. The decision was made by myself and two midwife colleagues to file a suit against the state of Georgia to force the conversation and to hold the state accountable for denying access to care for so many families in Georgia for so many years.
So, Hillary, from a legal perspective, so the basis of the suit is that because the legislature is not providing licensing pathway for midwives, that's endangering mothers. Is that what you're laying out?
Well, it's a couple of things. So for decades, Georgia has treated midwives like criminals, which is further endangering the lives of pregnant people across the state. As hospitals are closing, labor and delivery units are closing, there are provider shortages. You know, women's lives, in particular, Black women's lives, are at stake. Lawmakers had a chance to fix that by licensing midwives and no longer treating them like criminals. That bill failed to pass. So we went to court saying that violates the Georgia Constitution on a number of grounds. and the court needs to essentially decriminalize the practice of midwifery in Georgia.
Okay, so so in terms of this suit, filed it in state court, federal court?
It's filed in state court.
And how many midwives are we talking about in the state of Georgia?
Honestly, it's a little hard to tell. There are some midwives, nurse midwives, who have been allowed to practice, although they need to practice sort of with a permission slip from a physician, which is totally unnecessary and incredibly expensive to get, to pay a physician to sort of oversee the nurse midwives' practice. There are about 500-600 nurse midwives in Georgia. There would be more, but for this law that has driven out some nurse midwives, including one of our clients who leaves her home state of Georgia to practice in Tennessee. There are other midwives like Jamara who can't practice at all. And so it's a little hard to know, right, how many there could be but for these restrictive laws.
Questions from the panel. Robert, you first.
Thank you so much, and thanks for everything that you're working on. Can you talk a little bit about, being from Georgia, we've been dealing with this for a long time. Can you talk a little bit about the genesis of this attack on midwives and and how it affects specifically the Black community, particularly given the levels of infant mortality we have?
Yeah, that's a really great question. There's a long history of discrimination against midwives. But if we go back to the beginning of time, midwife is actually the oldest profession. Midwife means with woman. Midwives care for communities and families and have played an important role. Really, Black midwives birthed America. It's estimated that up to 75% of people in the South in the 1800s, early 1900s were delivered by Black midwives specifically. And Black midwives were really the primary healthcare providers for pregnancy for over 150 years in this country. And so it's actually really a disrespect to midwives that the profession has been sidelined in this way. But it started with the American Medical Association in 1857 coming out to discredit Black midwives and to encourage people to birth with physicians, and really executing this dirty fingernails campaign, which led to restrictions where midwives were required to have a nursing degree in order to practice. And not that there's anything wrong with having a nursing degree to practice midwifery, but it does leave a lot of midwives out that are already serving their communities. And so what it led to really is the decimation of the profession, where between the 1920s and 1970s, we went from thousands of midwives serving their communities to, in some states, only dozens. And those restrictions are still in place today at a time when many counties don't even have a physician provider. They don't have enough OB providers. The midwives of Georgia are ready and willing to serve. And there's no reason that this capable, trained, expert workforce should not be allowed to serve their communities in the most accessible ways possible. And for myself, I started my midwife training in Georgia as an apprentice, and realized that I wasn't able to really have a legal pathway to becoming a midwife. And I moved to Florida and became a Florida licensed midwife. I would love to be able to be licensed in both states and provide services to communities in Georgia. But at the current time, these restrictions do not allow me to do that.
Rebecca?
So to make sure that I'm understanding, Black women are having negative experiences going the quote unquote traditional route in terms of mortality rates around giving birth. But then we see that there is centuries and since the dawn of time success through midwives. So what do you think is the real policy reason why the state of Georgia is looking to decrease healthy access and healthy options for Black women to successfully give birth?
Yeah, we know that the maternal and infant mortality rates that we often hear about, where Black birthing people are 3 to 4 times likely to lose their lives in childbirth or shortly thereafter, we know that those are actually preventable deaths, right? We estimate, the CDC estimates that 80 to 90% of maternal deaths are preventable. And so that really makes these, human rights violations, because if we know how to prevent a death and we're not doing it, then, we're not doing everything that we can, and we're really violating people's rights as a country. And when we look around the world, the United States has some of the most abysmal outcomes when it comes to birthing. And the countries that have the best outcomes have a midwife-led workforce. So we cannot get around that midwifery care has to be part of a robust solution for how to address this manufactured maternal health crisis.
Nicole?
Thank y'all both for fighting this fight for the women of Georgia. I'm curious to know if y'all are receiving public support from politicians and people on the ground in Georgia. I know that when there are vast outcries, that can sometimes impact a court case. So what is the support like for this in Georgia?
Well, I can start. I think we have seen a real demand from families that they want midwifery care and are saying that loudly to their legislators. And so part of filing the lawsuit is to draw attention to that, to put facts before a court where the court has to listen and make a determination, and hopefully will be a wake-up call for legislators who can fix this. And it is a choice not to fix it, and we hope that they make a different choice.
All right, then.
Yeah,
well,
and I'll just add that
keep us
there's
abreast
been a
what,
long fight of this.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
There's been a long fight of this. Even when I gave birth to my child in Georgia, and I, had an experience that was negative, where a white nurse was telling me how to give birth in what position instead of allowing me to use the wisdom of my body to birth upright, like people have since the beginning of time. I joined a fight. I joined a movement that was already happening. We were going to the state capitol. We were talking to legislators. We were organizing the community, and hundreds of people were showing up at the Capitol demanding access to midwifery care. And that was in the early 2000s. So I've been in this fight, for a long time, even when I was a resident of Georgia. So I'm just adding that the community really wants this and has been organizing for decades. So it's time for the state of Georgia to listen to the citizens of Georgia.
All right, then. We surely appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, folks, we come back. We're going to talk about drama on the Capitol Hill. Donald Trump says, hey, I love inflation. And his Energy Secretary gets jammed up about that, as well as the stealing of Iranian oil. Yeah, 2 CBC members let him have it. We'll show you exactly what took place. That more right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're in Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Folks, let's talk about the Department of Justice and EEOC. They are accusing the EEOC, y'all, of violating federal civil rights laws when it gave guidance telling employers across the country to consider disparate impact in hiring and promotions. Trump's DOJ alleges that by considering disparate impact, the EEOC essentially pressured employees to make race-based considerations that would otherwise be illegal. Now, what's crazy is that the DOJ is literally trying to suggest that the Louisiana versus Calais decision impacts the EEOC. I want to go to Robert. Robert, I don't understand. This makes no sense. This is just like them applying the affirmative action ruling in college admissions to everything else. Okay, just because the Supreme Court may rule on a case like you can't use race in college admissions, it doesn't mean that that case somehow applies to a plethora of other things.
Well, it does, Roland. And the reason being is about the review standard that the Supreme Court uses in these types of constitutional questions. And it's really, there's an open question as to whether or not the standards of scrutiny rubric still exist within the Roberts Court. There will more than likely have to be another judicial challenge to determine what exactly the outlay of the law is, because currently the circuits are in chaos. But essentially, the Supreme Court in their ruling is saying, using the affirmative action case for an example, that there is no compelling government interest in diversity. And that doesn't just apply to education, that can apply to employment, that can apply to essentially any field. What this Roberts Court is attempting to do is essentially level the entirety of the playing field and thereby locking in the pre-existing white privilege that has always been there. What they've done is across the board, raising the earth to make it so that if you put any policy in place, they will create a racial preference, they'll have financial set-asides, they'll have admission standards, anything along those lines. They have taken a hammer and sickle approach to destroying that across the board. And now what is going to have to happen, what I want to hear more Democrats talking about being proactively going forward is, how exactly they create the type of legislative agenda, legislative authority to put in place laws that will comply with the Supreme Court decisions, but also execute the actual initial intent of the drafters of those laws. So they're taking this across the board. This is exactly what Project 2025 was attempting to do. You get a couple of decisions broadly, and then you can apply that to every single field. And by the time you litigate each and every single one of those things, the entirety of the political apparatus has collapsed around it. This is why this next election, both in 26 and 28, has to be about what the Democratic legislative agenda is going to be to repeal everything done by Project 2025 and repeal everything done by the Supreme Court.
Well, the problem here is in order to appeal, Rebecca, you got to have the House, you got to have the Senate, you got to have the White House. And then, of course, the Supreme Court could still say, oh, the law that you passed is unconstitutional. The issue that I see here is, again, this broad application. I remember the college admissions story. You literally had Senator Tom Cotton telling law firms, oh, you now have to change your internship and apprentice programs because of the college admissions decision, when it had nothing to do with their programs. But this is, again, how they want to apply this broadly.
Roland, so here's the thing. I know you're framing it as the GOP's attack against Black America, but I actually want to broaden out that frame just a bit. This is also partly the Democratic Party as well. When we think in terms of how this country has been set up over the last 250 years, it hasn't just been one party that has attacked or has operated in anti-Blackness in this country. And so something that I think that is important to talk about is, as we think about what does this next chapter of this country looks like, it's It's a shame that Project 2025 has been and is able to undo all of the civil rights laws. But we have to figure out as a country, how do we make these things actually permanent, where in another 100 years, if we're able to get these civil rights protections back, how do we make it permanent? Because what we're seeing is the civil rights fix that we had in the 60s and what we thought was the fix, and it might have been the fix at the time, it wasn't permanent. So what do we do in the next chapter, in the next iteration of this country to make sure that there's a permanency in how people are treated in this country?
Well, what they did there, Nicole, was believing that the courts had already made decisions, just like not realizing that when you get a hard right-wing court, they'll upend all that, same way they did with Roe v. Wade. And that's what we're seeing right here. This extreme court led by John Roberts is about completely dismantling. And I've been saying why I call this the defunding of Black America. They want to completely destroy and eradicate the entire civil and economic rights infrastructure that we have seen over the last 60 plus years.
Yeah, and DOJ just basically made it legal to discriminate in the workplace. They said as long as you can hide your racism and discrimination behind tests and certain language, then it's good to go. And the ironic thing here is that this does not only impact Black people, even though the right wants to convince their base that it does. This will also impact white women who are struggling to get jobs in places where white men dominate. This will impact people with disabilities, older people. This is not just an attack on Black America, even though they're framing it that way. This is going to hurt every single person in an underrepresented community. But yet, these racist white women and these older people and anybody else in these communities are counting this as a win because they think this is going to stop Black people from joining them in the workplace. But that's not even the only impact of this decision.
This GOP war on Black America, that's what this is, and so is what's happening in Tennessee. The NAACP, they're fighting back there. They filed a preliminary injunction to block Tennessee's new congressional map, which was drawn and approved by a Republican supermajority. Let's talk about what the motion seeks to do. Anthony Ashton is the NAACP's Associate General Counsel. He joins us right now. Anthony, walk us through what exactly are y'all trying to achieve with this?
We're trying to, we filed a motion to try to stop the maps that were passed. For those who don't know, the court went through, or not the court, but the legislature during the course of about 48 hours passed a map that split Shelby County and Memphis, which is the largest Black city in the country. It split it into 3 parts, making sure that each part was connected to a rural area, sometimes hundreds of miles away, to make sure that the Black folks who lived in Shelby County and who lived in Memphis weren't able to elect candidates that they wanted, that they were essentially, their vote was diluted, and in fact, that they would not be able to elect candidates they wanted, in particular with regard to the U.S. Congress.
So we earlier saw Congressman Steve Cohen, State Representative Justin Pearson withdraw their challenge, and so therefore, was that clearing the way for your action?
No, we were all had these lawsuits pending at the same time. They were proceeding under a different theory. Theirs was under a First Amendment theory. We're suing based upon violation of the 14th and 15th Amendment related to equal protection and the right to vote.
And this is just Tennessee. We obviously have seen actions take place in Alabama, Louisiana, and we see what's about to go down in Mississippi. And so are y'all also looking at other challenges in those states? And obviously what took place in Florida. We're just waiting to see what the Supreme Court there says.
Right. We filed an amicus brief in Florida with regard to what was going on there. We filed the action in Alabama. We've been fighting that for years. We were surprised and disappointed that after years of the court saying this is racial, this is discrimination, that essentially Alabama was able to just keep submitting racist maps until the court said, okay, we'll let you use them anyway. But we're looking to fight in various other states, including the fact that we're looking at what's going to happen in Georgia next week because they're about to undergo redistricting as well.
Well, again, what I keep saying is they are attacking anything. You heard the story we were just talking about, and this is literally an assault on the entire civil rights infrastructure. That is what they're going after. They are attacking every aspect of it. We're talking college, we're talking economics, we're talking civil rights, we're talking jobs, we're talking grants, we're talking health care, we're talking all of it.
Yeah, I think that when you hear people talk nostalgically about the civil rights movement, this is the civil rights movement. We are in the civil rights movement right now. There are people who, if they had their way, would drag us back to the 1950s and 1940s, perhaps when they were young or children and they thought that the world and that the country was better because Black people, because people of color, because women didn't have as many rights. And for some reason, I think the expression is that when you have experienced privilege for so long, even equality seems like it's oppression to you. And I think that's what we're seeing is we're seeing a temper tantrum from the other side on this, those who want things to go back to the way they were when Black and brown folks and women knew their place and knew to keep their mouth shut and let those who wanted to be in charge of us.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with the lawsuit. And I keep telling people we got to have folks who are fully engaged in this fight, and that's what's absolutely needed.
All right, and thank you. And I just want to say this one thing. This is why it's so important to vote. Remember, the shape of the Supreme Court right now is because of what happened with one election. You cannot sit on the sidelines. You cannot say, I'll sit out this election. You have to vote each and every time if you want to keep the freedom that we fought so hard to get over the last 50 or 60 years.
All right, then. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, this fight continues. The Department of Justice is going after the city colleges of New York. Again, just want you to understand what these people are doing. They're attacking their Black male initiative. Now, there have been numerous programs like this all across the country. I remember speaking at one in Akron. The brother who was at Akron went to Clemson. They had a program there it was for Black men. They became men of color. Well, they wiped that program out because of the Trump attacks on DEI. Now they're going after this CUNY program. This is that shameful, despicable head of the Civil Rights Division under Donald Trump, speaking on Fox News about this program. Listen.
What CUNY is doing is it is directing funds and resources towards recruitment in admissions, and then also financial resources and financial aid disproportionately favoring African-American men and students in general. And this is illegal under Students for Fair Admissions. Our universities are not allowed to do this. They're not allowed to favor people on the basis of race. It's pretty simple. And every time a university, and there are over 6,000 of them that get federal funding, gets money from the federal government, they're certifying that they're in compliance with our federal laws, and this is called Title VI. And so under Title VI, they could lose funds that they have obtained under false pretenses. And so this is what's at risk for CUNY and other schools that are doing this type of a program.
This is what's pathetic here, Nicole. I mean, universities are trying to say, hey, can we please serve our community interests? Can we diversify our student body? Can we try to recruit people? Trump's DOJ, Trump's administration is saying, oh, damn that. What they really want, they want white institutions. They want white colleges and universities.
And if we're supposed to be one of the greatest countries on earth, like Americans and Republicans always say, wouldn't we want an educated population? Wouldn't we want Black men to be educated and to stay in schools and get their degrees and get good jobs. But no, they don't want that. They want Black and brown people unable to attend universities and receive higher education. And like you said earlier, this is not the first attack that we've seen on Black people going to colleges. We've seen DOJ send letters and announcements about investigating medical schools for admitting too many Black and brown students all across the country. This is just going to keep on happening, but we have to keep resisting this and keep fighting. And it's so disappointing that they're using the Civil Rights Act to do this, the same act that is supposed to uplift Black people. But they don't care. They don't want us educated. They want us back in chains.
Rebecca, according to CUNY's website, the initiative's mission is to, quote, increase, encourage, and support the inclusion and educational success of students from groups that are severely underrepresented in higher education, particularly African, African-American, Black, Caribbean, and Latino Hispanic males. So what I'll say to all of those immigrants who support Donald Trump, hello, y'all getting screwed too. So you're voting against your own interests. That's what this is all about.
Well, look, when you come into this country as an immigrant and you're taught to assimilate, you're taught to get as close and in proximity to whiteness as you possibly can. But in order to understand what whiteness is, first, you got to learn how to be anti-Black. That's period what's happening in this country. But even the language that you read on that website, Roland, it says it's to be inclusive, to make sure that education that institution is providing also include these people too. It doesn't say that everyone else is excluded and it's only going to be focused on these particular people. This is what I'll tell a lot of folks now. If I had a child who was getting ready to go to college, my child's going to a HBCU. Like, forget this. Like, what we're hearing is that there are some institutions that are too afraid to stand up for their diverse students, aka their Black students and some of their other students of color. So don't go where you're simply tolerated. Go where you're celebrated and where you're appreciated. Send your child to a HBCU.
Robert?
Look, Roland, I think we have to come to a kind of a stark reality of where we're at in America. Black folks have been on this land mass for around 400 years. We've spent the majority of that in subjugation to the white majority class. That's the reality. We have spent the last 50 to 60 years trying to get along and trying to make things work out together and trying to do something contra to the majority of the human history. You know, when Spartacus rebelled against the Romans, he didn't just get to stay around and then integrate into the institutions. Normally, when you have a decolonization struggle, I was reading Franz Fanon this weekend. There's this concept of the cleansing nature of revolution. We tried something different as African Americans. We're the first group, perhaps, in human history who ended bondage and then tried to simply peacefully integrate into that society. There was no bloody race war that took place. There was no ethnic retribution. There was no burning of villages, and beheading of white people, etc. We tried to peacefully integrate. And it is clear now that with this extreme MAGA Republican Project 2025, that they don't want that to ever take place. They don't want us to even get the crumbs. They don't want us to have the scraps. They don't want us to even be allowed in the building to smell the scraps that are being made when it comes to the power in this country. They're fine with us being here. My mentor, Janice Mathis, would always say that racism has never been about proximity. They were fine to have a Black woman warm up their bed during slavery. It was about power, the power dynamic, and who will control those things. And as we saw when African Americans went through the Obama Renaissance, the Obama Golden Age, they would start being CEOs, presidents, lawyers, doctors, running institutions. The white lash that we're experiencing right now is even more severe than the white lash we saw by Barry Goldwater as a result of the Civil Rights Movement. We are going to have to focus inward on our institutions, as Rebecca said. There's no longer this question of fighting to see who can actually sit at the table with people who clearly do not want us to be there. It's about ensuring that we build a table strong enough and stable enough to lift the weight of our entire community. That it can't just be the educational table that we're working on when it comes to sending more of our students to HBCUs. That has to be the business table. That has to be the economic table. That has to be the health table. These folks don't like us. They do not want us here. They want to take away every bit of power. If you are going to be here, it needs to be in service to them. If you are in a disagreement with that rubric, it's time to start building on your own, because we've seen after 400 years, They are not changing.
All right, got to go to break. We come back. Black Star Network headlines. Also, we'll show you, boy, folks went at it on Capitol Hill, talking about the issue of inflation, energy prices, war in Iran. Got all that to break down. Plus, 2 black kids, Missouri, selling lemonade. Feel-good story, how the cops and the firefighters came and bought their product out. But I still got something to say about the racist SOB who called the cops in the first place. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Goals to get 20,000 people contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day to support this show and the 5 other shows on the Black Star Network. You want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com for ways to donate. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037, 0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're in Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, time for our Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble.
A federal judge declares a North Carolina man is unfit to stand trial. DeCarlos Brown Jr. is facing charges for killing Ukrainian refugee Ayana Zarkusta on a North Carolina commuter train called the Charlotte's Blue Line Light Rail. Brown was captured on video from August repeatedly stabbing the woman. Brown's defense attorneys requested a delay in his trial due to his untreated mental illness. On Tuesday, the judge ruled that Brown is incompetent and must undergo medical treatment. If doctors later determine that Brown is competent, the charges could proceed. But until then, the case must be dismissed by statute, but it can be reinstated if his competency is restored. And police are investigating the discovery of a burning cross in Chicago's historic Grant Park. This symbol is one of the oldest representations of racist hatred in America. Videos shared on social media show the burning cross leaning against a tree. Fortunately, there was minimal damage and firefighters were able to extinguish the flames quickly. In response to this incident, the faith community of St. Sabina, a local church, is offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. And a dangerous moment unfolds in Camden, Arkansas, when a 4-month-old is thrown from an SUV after their dad's vehicle flips during a police chase. Authorities say the father is a convicted felon and is now facing multiple charges. Arkansas State Police say a trooper was trying to pull over 28-year-old Tyrese Fletcher for a traffic stop violation, but he did not stop. And then he drove more than 100 miles per hour to get away. Police dash camera video shows the moment that Fletcher loses control of the car, hitting a light pole and flipping multiple times before coming to a stop. Police took the baby and 3 other children to the hospital for minor injuries. Investigators say the kids are all under the age of 6 and were unrestrained. Now Fletcher is facing charges for felony fleeing, reckless driving, no driver's license, possession of a weapon, and 4 counts of endangering the welfare of a minor. Police in Talladega, Alabama are searching for answers after the shooting death of an 18-year-old recent high school graduate. On May 31st, authorities say they found G.K. Wright suffering from a single gunshot wound to the head. It happened around 2:24 a.m. in the 600 block of McAlpine Street, just 2 weeks after Wright graduated from Talladega High School. School leaders say he was a standout student athlete who played on the school's basketball team and had plans to attend Gadsden State Community College this fall. Investigators are working with crime scene technicians from Jacksonville State University Center for Applied Forensics to process the crime scene evidence. If you know anything about what happened to G.K. Wright, please contact Crime Stoppers at 215-STOP. You could earn a $1,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest. White South Africans have become the fastest growing refugee group to enter the United States. New data from the State Department's Bureau of Population shows that all refugees accepted into the country were all Afrikaners, a white South African ethnic group. Last year, the Trump administration promoted claims about a white genocide in South Africa. And since then, over 5,000 white South Africans were granted protected status and access into the United States over any other refugee group. However, human rights groups and researchers disagree with the administration's claims, saying there is no evidence of a genocide targeting white South Africans. Despite critics, Trump continues to make exceptions for white South Africans while closing the doors to other refugee groups seeking asylum.
Brittany Noble every day, noon Eastern, right here on the Black Star Network. Again, the breakdown with Brittany Noble every day, noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. Donald Trump, he always slammed President Joe Biden when it came to the issue of inflation. He promised that he was going to eradicate inflation. Well, it's actually gone up. He addressed this today when they asked at the White House, listen to this fool.
Concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning. Could that be a headwind?
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, you know, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now. We took out the other night 22 ships. Late at night with no lights, because they don't have any radar, because we blasted the crap out of it. We took out, that's why oil's $85 a barrel. I mean, you take a look. Remember when I did this, I said, look, the one bad thing will be we hit the best economy we've ever hit. And I said to my people, I had Scott, I had Howard, I had Pete, I had all of them. I had Todd in the room. I said, the one thing we have to do now, we had just hit the highest stock market in history, highest 401ks in history. Everything was going well. And I said, I hate to do this to you guys, but Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon very soon. We have to go and attack. So we hit them with the B-2 bombers, which took a lot of courage. It was totally successful. We buried it, very hard to get. But now we had to make the second move. And I said,
all right, he just running his mouth there. He's trying to justify how awful the economy is. On Capitol Hill, his energy secretary was testifying, and Congresswoman Emilia Sykes of Ohio, she was unrelenting in demanding answers from him on this issue.
Thank you to the witness for being here. I will say your expertise is energy, and I would hope that you would not invoke the words of Dr. Martin Luther King without adequate context, because quite frankly, that is not your expertise. But since you want to talk about people unqualified in meritocracies, let's talk about President Trump. Do you feel like your positions and policy statements are in line with President Trump?
Yes, I hope so.
Do you love inflation?
I love ending Iran's ability to have a nuclear weapon. I think that's existential
Thank you.
for our
That was
future.
not my question. Do you love inflation, yes or no?
I love ending Iran's.
That is not my question. Do you love inflation? Yes or no?
No, I would prefer lower inflation.
You would prefer low inflation. Do you know that your boss, essentially President Trump, just stated that he loved inflation?
He's an entertaining, hyperbolic guy who's done tremendous leadership and on balance is driving inflation down.
So it sounds like you were unaware that President Trump just mentioned that he loved inflation, and I certainly don't want to get you in trouble with your boss, but it sounds like you don't love inflation, but he does. But let me ask you this other question. Are you aware that the United States was taking millions of barrels of gasoline from Iran in the Strait of Hormuz?
We are preventing the flow of Iranian oil through the Strait of Hormuz.
That is not the question that I just asked you. Were you aware that the United States has been taking millions of gallons of oil from the Strait of Hormuz?
I'm just not sure taking is the right word. We're preventing the flow of it.
Well, thank you. Mr. Chair, if I may, can I play some audio from some comments that President Trump made in the Oval Office? Okay.
The numbers were great.
I don't think we've heard this.
I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out
Let's suspend that,
barrels
please.
of oil. Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran until right now.
Mr. Secretary, it seems like you didn't know about this either. So why would the United States be taking out millions of barrels of oil from Iran?
Well, it's essential that we prevent oil sales from generating revenue for Iran to spend to develop nuclear weapons and oppress
Mr. Secretary, I understand this might be an uncomfortable line of questioning and you don't want to do it, but you are not answering my question. So I'm going to ask you again, and I'm going to hope that you will answer it honestly. Did you know that the United States was taking millions of gallons of oil from Iran?
I'm unaware.
So do you think that the president is lying based on the audio that you just heard? And I will send it to you in case you say you didn't hear it.
Oh, no, I do not think the president's lying. I think the president's talking casually about our efforts to stop the flow of Iranian oil, and we're stopping those tankers.
Do you think that it is appropriate to talk casually about war?
I think you talk to all different audiences and you talk in all different styles. But I don't have any serious objection to what he said.
You don't have any serious objection for someone talking about war casually? Do you have that objection? There are 13 service people who are dead. There are hundreds more that are injured, but we should be talking about war casually.
He treats this war deadly serious, and he has worked tirelessly on this war.
Mr. Secretary, you just said that
it.
he was speaking casually about this. He
speaks 20 hours a day. He speaks 20 hours a day in different styles for different audiences.
He is the President of the United States of America. He is the Commander-in-Chief who is responsible for 13 service members who have died and hundreds more who are injured. So you mean to say to me, testifying in front of this committee in the United States House of Representatives, that it is appropriate for the Commander-in-Chief to talk about war casually?
He speaks candidly, openly, and honestly. I think all of America benefits from that.
Well, I appreciate your attempt to protect your boss and to keep your job, but let me be very clear with you. It is not appropriate to talk about war casually. He is clearly keeping you in the dark about what he is doing in Iran, and now you are sitting here in this committee unaware that the president just made an announcement about millions of barrels that they have taken from Iran and stated in that very, very clearly, people don't know, but now we get to know it. But unfortunately, he sent you here and you didn't know it. What is your response to that?
I'm very proud to serve with President Trump. He's been tremendous leadership in a time of great stress right now. I'm proud of what he's doing, proud to be part of the team.
Well, I would not be proud if my boss sent me up Schitt's Creek and left me here in a committee without adequate information and speaking casually about war. That is a horrible place to be, and I'm so sorry that you have to defend that. That is beneath your honor.
And a woman's time's expired. I'd also...
Well, Rebecca, that's how you are supposed to question a cabinet member to expose their sheer stupidity.
Yes, absolutely. And then even playing the recording of what the resident was saying in terms that we're stealing and we're taking through the cover of darkness millions and millions of barrels of oil. Because the entire time I was thinking, yeah, but how are you getting it out? How are you getting it out of the region? Like there isn't a train that you could put the shipment on. There isn't a pipeline, an oil pipe that you could transfer it to. So it would have to go on these ships through the Strait of Hormuz, which is currently shut down. Look, this man is delusional. And here's the thing. The fact that you have the Republican Party that's standing by him, the fact that you have these cabinet members that are standing by him, they have to understand at some point this Trump disaster is going to end. So what's next for them after they've spent all this time wasting their time looking foolish, trying to defend indefensible actions by this administration?
Robert?
Okay. That's not how oil works. Just go. I got stuck at the Trump point about. I saw this earlier, and even re-listening to it. You don't just take oil and keep it, and then just say, well, the gas is going to go down after the war is over. One, this war is not ending at all. Like not ending anytime soon. There's no exit strategy. There's no plausible solution, no plausible set of circumstances where this ends anytime soon. One, Iran has full control over the Straits of Hormuz and can escalate anytime they feel like it. Secondarily, through the Houthis, they have control of the Bab el-Mandab Strait. They did it prior to Operation Rough Rider back in 2025 and into 2024. Three, they have the ability to launch ballistic missiles and drones to hit the Suez Canal to shut down all shipping throughout the Red Sea. Four, they've already sent up missiles to hit the U.S. base and Diego Garcia. So even if you send shipping routes from Europe all the way around the southern Horn of Africa into the Indian Ocean using Chinese and Russian satellite imagery, they can hit vessels even in the middle of the ocean. So they can shut down all global shipping anytime they feel like it, and that's why Trump cannot get out of this hole that he's currently in. Then you put in the second factor, which is the war does not end until Israel says the war ends. Iran has made it clear that unless Hezbollah is included in any peace deal, any ceasefire, and there's an end to hostilities with Israel, as the foreign minister told me a few days ago, if we make a peace deal with the U.S. in the morning, Israel will bomb us at night. There's no point in a deal that does not involve Israel. So when Trump says we've been essentially stealing entire tankers full of oil, the markets are based on speculation, not the actual amount of oil that is in the ground. At the beginning of the war in February, we saw every major strategic oil reserve in the world release the largest amount of oil into the system ever in human history to prevent the price shock from the largest disruption in energy supply chains, perhaps since the Industrial Revolution. So no, this does not clear up immediately after the war is over. No, you cannot just simply steal oil and I guess you're going to drive it to Florida and pump it at the Shell station. Everybody can come pick it up. This is based on speculation markets going forward, and without a clear answer, we are still going to see $6 gas by the end of summer, $10 by the end of the year, and no amount of lying and BS is going to get him out of that. And for the Energy Secretary, he should resign immediately. You cannot do your job if the president is making policy just sitting behind the Oval Office just shooting the shit. That is not how energy policy works. So this entire thing is a catastrophe on every single level, and Trump knows there's no way out of it.
It's hilarious, Nicole, to see these fools try to spin how pathetic this has gone. And Robert's right. The war's not over. Literally, it's not over.
No, and the energy secretary was shaking in his boots because he didn't want to end up like other cabinet members who had to bite the dust after they messed up in a hearing in front of Congress. But look, he knows that President Trump wasn't being honest in that Oval Office. And he also knows that Trump was trying to spin this because of the terrible job that he is doing with the economy. I mean, for him to sit in the Oval Office in front of reporters, in front of the whole country, and say that he loves inflation when we're struggling to pay for gas and prescription drugs and groceries, It almost feels like he's trying to tank the Republican Party in November. If he keeps blundering like this, there is no way that his supporters are going to be happy to vote for Republican members of Congress in November, especially when he was relentlessly going after the Biden and Harris administration when the economy wasn't doing so great under them either. And even if prices do drop a little bit after this war is supposedly coming to an end, that is not going to do enough because people have already been coming out of pocket to pay for these expensive medical bills and pay for grocery prices and everything else. So his claims about this inflation being something that he created and that he wanted and that he loves, nobody should believe this. This is all a blunder, and he's trying to clean up the mess that he made, but he's not even doing a good job at that.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Let's talk about this story out of Kansas City. All right, it's a feel-good story where first, these two young boys, Perez and G.K. Reese, selling lemonade. Okay, kids do this all around the country, and some idiot calls 911. So, KCTV, a local station there, did this story on this. I want y'all to check the story out. But I got something to say after we show this. Go ahead and play it.
Two young brothers in Kansas City, Kansas, just wanted to sell lemonade this summer. What happened when police were called to their stand is a story you are going to want to see. KCTV5's Zach Fisher has more.
G.K. and Perez Reese have been selling lemonade here on 33rd and Webster for years. But this week, when life gave them lemons, Kansas City's finest made sure they sold every cup. It all started with a 911 call, one police haven't heard before. Someone notifying them about two boys selling lemonade on the corner. But when Kansas City, Kansas police and firefighters arrived, they didn't shut the stand down. They became its best customers. Officer Morgan Reed was among the first to pull up during the afternoon shift.
I was calling everybody, yeah. I was just calling everybody, hey, make sure you guys stop by the lemonade stand. And then just whenever they were busy, a couple people were able to swing by.
Those calls worked. When all is said and done, the boys sold more lemonade and Kool-Aid fruit to dozens and dozens of officers in about 30 minutes.
Grape, and I think that was blue raspberry.
It totaled $280. But for Perez and G.K., it wasn't about the money.
They gave us like some stickers. They gave us a lot of things. And I used it on my shirt, and then they was like, now you're an official police officer.
Officer Reed liked it so much, she came back Thursday, spending another chunk of change. She says moments like this are exactly what community policing is supposed to look like. And for Perez, the motivation behind the stand goes beyond the badge stickers.
I just wanted to help the homeless and buy me a new e-bike, because that has been my dream since I was little.
Use the money for my nephew and niece inside. I was going to use the money to buy them diapers and stuff.
Not a bad squeeze for a couple of kids just trying to make a difference. The boys tell me they're going to be out here all summer selling lemonade. Officer Reed says that she had to come back, and after tasting the lemonade myself, honestly can't blame her. Kansas City, Kansas, Zach Fisher, KCTV5 News.
Okay, that's absolutely fantastic. First of all, the officer is right. That is what community policing is all about. So I appreciate seeing those police officers and the firefighters do that. But here's the question I have. Who is the asshole who called 911? See, this is why we call it crazy-ass white people, and it's really crazy-ass racist white people. And this is the crap that black people have to deal with. White kids all across America have lemonade stands all over the place. And so this idiot, listen, the cops should have said, give us the address of the punk ass who called. We can go pay them a visit. And see, again, I appreciate the officers and the firefighters. The problem is, we know how this could go when it comes to black kids in this country. And this is the problem. When you have racist people who make phone calls, because I tell you, wasn't nobody black calling on these kids, okay? And so this is the problem that we have in this country, where black people, my God, we can't even fucking sell lemonade on the side, which white kids do all the time, without somebody calling the cops for a lemonade stand. This is the crap that absolutely pisses me off, Robert.
Look, Roland, and this is the point that I think people will overlook. Because, as you said, the result went great. The result went wonderful. But what if there were different cops that showed up? What if instead of having these wonderful community-minded police show up, every time there's one of these police shootings, we always say, well, there's this one bad apple. That doesn't mean that all cops are bad. And I agree with that completely. I've worked with great police officers, have great police officers in my family. They're not all bad, of course not. But what if this was one of the bad ones? What safeguards do we put in place to ensure that these young boys weren't approached by the bad police officers? The ones that who saw age overestimation, and instead of seeing little boys selling lemonade, they saw grown thugs that they wanted to make an example out of. What's to say that they wouldn't have escalated this to the point where either there was an arrest or there was violence that took place or God knows what else? We have to stop, instead of just trying to retrain our own people, we have to retrain the society to stop seeing this otherization of African Americans doing the exact same things that are standard for American society. We have to stop having a society that sees white nationalism, that sees white supremacy as being fundamental to what it means to be an American. And we have to come to terms with the fact that we need to see each other as simply being human beings with equal rights, that there's a certain portion of this nation that will never be able to accept that.
You know, Rebecca, I really try my best not to sit here and look at some people. Let me just go ahead and call out Sean 1 Ryan 2349. This dumbass put in our chat, you don't know who called the cops rolling, and you have to bring race into it. Yo, dumbass Sean, did nobody black call? Rebecca, we all know that. I mean, come on. This ain't our first rodeo. Black folks barbecuing, white folks call the cops. Black folks delivering packages, white folks call the cops. Black folks just walking down the street, white folks call the cops.
Well, Sean's going to really hate what I'm about to say now. Like, look, it breaks my heart that these young boys are selling lemonade in part to take care of everyday supplies in order to buy diapers for the small children in the house. Like, that part is heartbreaking. And one thing that we do know is that the unemployment rate in this country is double for Black folks than it is for the rest of the country. So we know that Black families are hurting and aren't able to make basic ends meet, which is why you see an increase in the calls for mutual aid, especially in Black communities, because after all, we're all that we got. The other issue that I have is, like, I'm thinking about the 80s, Roland. I know you said this is a feel-good story, but when we saw the rise of PAL, of police athletic leagues, we would see, like, in one summer, you would see police officers playing football in the streets with young Black boys, actually. And then the next summer, they were hunting them in the streets like dogs and heavily prosecuting young Black boys in this country. So I'm still leery at the interaction of police officers with young Black children. I'm extremely leery of it because one thing that we do know is that the rise of policing in this country is directly tied to the end of slavery, and that it went from slave catchers into the next thing you know is now police officers and policing. And you know, your viewers might understand, like, over the years how I talked about, hey, we need more than police reform because what we're having now doesn't work. So yes, I know this is a feel-good story, and Sean, you're going to hate what I'm saying. It is always about race in this country. You know why? Because this country was founded based upon race.
It just pisses me off, Nicole. Just two Black kids just trying to sell some damn lemonade. Some asshole calls 911.
Mm-hmm. And what kills me about this is entrepreneurship and self-determination are supposed to be the foundations of America and capitalism, but not when Black people are participating in it. Not when two young Black boys are out here doing something positive, raising money for themselves and for their families. And at this point, I mean, we have to just say what it is. Being Black is a crime in America. Like you said earlier, Roland, walking down the street, somebody's calling the police on you. Bird watching, somebody's calling the police on you. When I used to work on political campaigns, knocking doors, people calling the police. I'm trying to be a good citizen. And I'm sure all of us on this panel today and those of you watching at home have a story about being an innocent Black person just out in the world, somebody's calling the police on you. White people really need to start wrestling with the fact that they are essentially afraid of Black people, and they see us having joy, making money, or just being children, and they see that as an assault on their personhood. Why? These young Black boys weren't doing anything wrong. They were supporting their community, doing exactly what they should have been doing. But being Black is a crime in America, and we see that time and time again.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So, again, great to see the support they got. But for the person who called, you know what? Go to hell. Go to hell. That's what I'll say. Before I go, folks, shout out to my parents, Reginald and Imelda Martin. Today, they celebrated their 59th wedding anniversary. It's probably 59 years, and so I want to give them a shout out. I know they are watching and checking us out. Let's see here. Did y'all get the photo? Let's see here. Did y'all get the photo in the control room? The photo not go through? Okay, I got to resend the photo. Photo didn't go through, so y'all go ahead and pull it up. Just send it right there to group me. And so, yes, right, 59 years. And, of course, I'm sure they are having a ball, as always do. And so definitely want to shout them out. Let me thank our panelists today. Let me thank Nicole. Let me thank Robert. Let me thank Rebecca for being on today's show. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, folks. As I said, I'm here in Nashville. So you see behind me, you've got a whole bunch of folks, former NFL players, retired players, the NFL alumni. They're having their golf tournament here in Nashville, and I'll be playing tomorrow. And so we'll be talking to Al Smith, who's with the organization. Of course, he's a longtime Tennessee Titan, star linebacker, and so invited me out here. And so we look forward to playing tomorrow and talking to a number of folks involved, talk about the work that they do for children's charities, the money they raise here. And so that's what the good work that they do here as well. So we'll look forward to that. We had a great time Monday, of course, in Atlanta with the former NFL player Warrick Dunn. He had his tournament, so of course we heard from him. And so we'll be showing you a little bit more of that. And so again, glad to be here. We're at this rooftop, folks, at the Nashville airport. So this is the Hilton at the Nashville airport. And so it's literally right across. So planes have been taken off and everything like that. So it's been pretty cool. So glad to be here. Let me know if when y'all got that photo or video of my parents. Let's do this here, folks. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. We want y'all to please contribute. Again, our goal is to get 20,000 people on every year, contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. It goes to support the work that we do here on the show, the travel that we're doing. I got a call today about a rally they're having in Atlanta next week, dealing with a Georgia special legislative session when it comes to gerrymandering. We'll see if we're able to go and cover that. You also have All Roads Lead to the South. There's a rally happening in Harlem on June 20th. And the next Saturday. So there's a lot going on. We can't be everywhere, but we would love to do so. Your support is critical. So if you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. If you are listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com for details on how to contribute. Check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Start Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag going to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Also, support the Black-owned businesses in our marketplace. If you go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, all the products you see here in our studio, those are available at shopblackstarnetwork.com. Please support all of those products. And, of course, download the app Fan Base. You can also follow me at Roland S. Martin. All right, folks, this is the photo I shot of my parents. My nephew, Chris, his high school graduation. So, again, happy 59th wedding anniversary to both of them. Man, that was a small video. My bad. So, Keenan, I'm going to send you the video so in the replay, it'll be full screen. All right, y'all, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here from Nashville. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. And yes, I'm rocking today. This is the Jalen Rose. Shout out to Jalen Rose. Of course, he has his charter school in Detroit. This is when I played in his golf tournament a couple of years ago. And so I look forward to being there. That's going to be July 27th. So I'll be in Detroit to support Jalen Rose for his golf tournament, and we'll broadcast our show as well. 100% of their graduates off to college. So big ups to Jalen Rose and the work they're doing with the charter school in Detroit. All right, y'all, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Holla!